Back to the end of summer 2019. I, female, needed a distraction from my boring university revisions, and as lots of bored single people, I was on Tinder. Nothing serious. I was too busy to meet guys anyway, but I like talking to people. One day I matched with a dude. We'll name him Ted. Get the reference? Okay, maybe not. He was at the same university as me. He also looked handsome in the pictures. After talking for a few days on the app, and after I had wrongly decided that he was not a criminal, oh, the irony, by the way, I gave him my number. Again, we talked for a while, then he asked to call me. Nothing exciting, just getting to know each other. We talked on the phone for a couple of weeks, and he called me at random hours of the day and almost every night. I didn't think much of it. During our phone calls, he mostly talked about him, but I did not mind because I don't really like talking about myself. It takes time before I trust anybody. And again, I was bored and honestly a bit lonely. I had been single for a while, so getting the attention felt nice. After a few weeks, Ted asked if I wanted to meet. I said yes because I was done with my exams. We met at the city center. When I saw him, I was kind of shocked because he looked nothing like the handsome guy in his pictures. It was definitely him, but good angles in Photoshop truly make miracles. I was set back, but I'm not one to judge by the look, so I went on with the date anyway. Thinking back now, there were more red flags. He was asking odd questions, such as, "Are you shy? Why don't you look at me in the eyes?" Well, buddy, constant eye contact is just kind of weird, and I do need to take my eyes off you to pick up my beer from the table, or light up a cigarette every once in a while. The night went on, and we had quite a few drinks. Usually I would never ask somebody I just met to come home with me, but I was wearing beer goggles that made my brain blind. We left and spent the night together. In the morning, I drove him to the train station and went back home to have a nap. At the end of the day, he called me and asked if we could meet again the next night. I was not really sure if I wanted to do that because I knew that the only reason I had brought him home was alcohol. We did not really click, but the idea of rejecting him made me feel guilty, so I agreed anyway. The day after that, he came to my place again, and there things got weird. I started to feel extremely nervous. Something felt really off. Thinking back, it was probably my guts telling me to run away from this dude. I decided to make things clear, and I told him that I was not looking for a serious relationship at all. It was a lie. I apologized and decided to bring him home. We got in the car and he was quite angry. He didn't want to talk to me and I was embarrassed, so I didn't talk either. When we arrived, he got out and slammed the car door. I know that I have made quite a few mistakes here. I shouldn't have accepted another date with him knowing I was not into him, and I should have told him sooner that I didn't want a relationship. I sincerely did not mean to act badly. That is why I tried to be honest with him as soon as I could. The next day, I called him and apologized again. He said it was fine and he hung up. I thought it was over, but man, it was not. A few days later, it was time to go back to university. That morning, I woke up to a gigantic message from him, telling me that the reaction I had a few nights before really threw him off and that he was looking for stability. As soon as I opened the text, he called me. It was 7 in the morning. I had just woken up, so I can't really remember what he said. But I told him again that I did not want to go any further with him. He hung up again. For the next few weeks, things were extremely weird. He was following me everywhere on campus and very obviously hiding behind walls to hear my conversations, texting me all day even if I wasn't replying, calling me 7 to 10 times a day. I thought he was creepy, but maybe he was just hurt and was coping. Ted was always with a guy. We'll call him Elliot. When I was at the library, they were always sitting together near to where I was. Ted was always watching me as I was studying. When I went outside for break, he followed me. It came to a point where my friends were texting me to warn me that he was behind me. I tried avoiding him, but it was useless. I told him many times that I did not want any more contact with him and that he was making me uncomfortable, but nothing worked. He just kept on going. I was going crazy. 2 weeks later, I was at a party when I met my boyfriend. I fell in love very quickly. He's the most caring, loving man I'd ever met. I know it's all lovey-dovey. Try not to puke on your keyboard. Anyway, at that moment, I knew I needed to stop being so accepting of Ted's behavior. I explained to him one last time that he needed to stop contacting me, and I finally blocked him. Again, I thought and hoped it was over. Ted continued to follow me everywhere on campus for weeks, except he was never with Elliot anymore. One day I was studying at the library. Ted was a few tables away from me, of course. Suddenly, somebody sat at the table in front of mine. It was Elliot. I looked at Ted. He was staring at Elliot with the most murderous gaze ever. I thought it was really weird. I had never talked to Elliot before and he never came near me at all. I was creeped out because I thought maybe Ted had sent him to talk to me. But he ignored me. He kept on studying when I went out for a cigarette, and Ted did not follow me. I was surprised but thought nothing of it. Went back inside to study. A few moments later, Ted went outside. Elliot turned his head, watched him until he was out of sight, then turned to me. He said, "I really need to talk to you. I think you're in danger." "I'm sorry, I know it's weird because we don't know each other, but I'm worried. For both of us, actually." I was stunned. I couldn't talk. He said, "We don't have a lot of time before Ted comes back. When you went out, he came yelling at me because I sat in front of you. When he leaves, can we please talk?" I said yes. At around 6 p.m., Ted left. We waited another hour to make sure he was actually gone. We didn't want him to know we were in contact. At 7 p.m., we sat in the cafeteria and Elliot told me things that would still make me shiver to this day. He explained that Ted had really horrible discourses about women and how he would love to control them. He also explained that a few weeks prior he had suspicions about Ted's behavior regarding university classes. He followed random classes every week, sometimes showed up to Elliot's classes although he didn't follow them, and he did not have access to the university online platforms. Elliot thus realized that Ted did not have a university email address, which every member of university is supposed to have. Elliot went to the university administration and they confirmed what he thought. Ted was not a student and he never was. After that, Elliot completely cut off contact with him. Since then, Ted was harassing him, calling and texting him all the time, following him on campus. Elliot was shaking as he was telling me this story. I was shaken up as well, but was only coming, revealed to be even worse. Elliot explained that he absolutely wanted to warn me because Ted had said terrifying things about me. I already wanted to cry. Ted was talking about me all the time. Before Elliot cut contact, it got to the point where Ted was saying that he would love to molest me, that he knew where I lived, and he could come whenever he wanted and surprise me. Knowing where I parked my car on campus, he could wait for me in the dark. He always said it with a joking tone, but Elliot got freaked out. He and I were shaking. I had tears in my eyes. I knew Ted was a creep, but I could never imagine it was that bad. At this point, we were near the end of semester, but we still had a few weeks left. Elliot and I decided to take action because we didn't want to be terrified every time we were on campus. First, we contacted university security. Things were taken extremely seriously. One morning when I arrived, the walls were completely covered with posters with the campus emergency number. Elliot and I were in constant contact with the chief of security, who was very concerned for the student's safety. Finally, they managed to catch Ted at the library and asked him not to come again. We also went to the police. I don't know the right term for it, but we did not file a complaint. The police only added a note to the person's record so that if anything ever happens to you, the police know what you were worried in the first place about. The police officer seemed worried as well. I asked him why. He told me that he was not allowed to say anything specific, but that if I ever saw Ted outside of campus, I needed to call the police without hesitation. How reassuring is that? I was nearly peeing my pants. A few days later, I get a voicemail from Elliot. He's completely shaken up and tells me that he knows things that he was not supposed to know. Apparently, Ted is mentally sick. He is regularly arrested and locked in mental hospitals. He is a drug addict, an alcoholic, and has violent tendencies. He was already accused of attempted rape. He lives off of invalidity insurance, which explains why he has so much time on his hands to come to university. I would have never guessed when I met him. Later, I contacted one of my acquaintances who works in the police. They were not supposed to, but they confirmed everything. Chills down my spine. After that, things calmed down. Ted was still coming on campus. Don't ask me how or why, but he kept a low profile. He was not following us anymore. It was finally the end of the semester. I went away for a few weeks and I never set a foot on campus. I felt relieved. When spring semester started, Ted was still there. Not following, but watching closely. I was freaked out all over again, but then COVID hit. Since then, all of our courses have been online. I have not yet seen Ted. I don't know if he's still creeping on people or if he is now officially a student. When I think of him, I'm still shaky. I just hope to never run into him again. The obligatory long-time lurker, first-time poster. I want to tell my story of abduction in Krakow, Poland. This happened in 2012, and there are not many people I've told this story to. For my birthday in 2012, my ex-husband and I visited Krakow for a short break. My main interest was to visit Auschwitz and the Jewish quarter of the city and Chandler's factory, which is now a museum. We arrived just prior to the Christmas market's opening. I remember being disappointed that we wouldn't be able to experience this. We stayed in a very nice hotel. I won't divulge the name, but it was approximately 15 minutes walking distance from the main square and cloth market. Had a beautiful balcony over the river and was very nice with lovely, hospitable staff. I couldn't recommend this hotel highly enough. We flew in on a cheap budget flight around mid-afternoon and showered, changed, and got ready to explore. The weather was cold and dreary, with some light drizzle, but more than okay to walk along the river into Krakow's main city. Krakow is an exceptionally beautiful city. I loved it. We had a good look at the cloth market, ate a meal of matzo balls and stew in the main square under blankets and heated lights, watched the famous clock tower, and even managed to visit the lovely shopping center with excellent shops, where I purchased a lovely cashmere coat from Zara and an equally lovely hat and scarf. Given it's our first night, we had a few drinks, which turned into a few more. We ended up our evening in a lovely bar beneath the city. Most bars appear to be underground in the catacombs. I was overjoyed as a smoker. We are usually social lepers, but we could still smoke cigarettes in this bar. Around 1 a.m., we were tired and decided to head home to our comfy hotel. We made our way up the stairs from the bar to street level, and a taxi ramp was right outside. We jumped in a taxi and let the driver know our hotel location. Unfortunately, the driver would only accept cash, so we explained we would need a cash point at some time, along the 5-minute journey to the hotel. He seemed to understand and was fine with this. At this point, I need to explain I had no mobile phone with me. It was back at our hotel. In those days, roaming had to be paid for, so we decided we would only take my ex-husband's phone. It was 2012, so I think I only had an old iPhone 3S, and it was due for renewal. The 5-minute journey was uneventful, and we arrived opposite our hotel, which was a type of dual carriageway with a petrol station, with cash points opposite the hotel entrance. My ex-husband signaled to the driver to pull in to use the cash point and got out of the taxi. As he was at the cash point, this is where my nightmare began. As soon as dropping him off and seeing he was withdrawing the money at the cash point, the driver locked all the doors and sped off. I was in the back seat with several shopping bags and had no idea what was happening. The taxi driver took the main dual carriageway out of the city and kept on speeding. Initially, I thought he was looking for a place to turn around to pick up my ex-husband, but that wasn't the case. The taxi driver continued to speed until we were well out of the city limits. He spoke no English. I asked him if he wanted money. I showed him my empty bag and shopping bags and asked him what was going on. At this point, I was scared, but assumed there was a misunderstanding. Once the driver continued past the Krakow outskirts, I was terrified. The outskirts are very rural, no street lights, just black snow and ice. The taxi driver shouted and shouted at me, but I couldn't understand a word. Eventually, he pushed me physically and forcefully with my head into the back seat and told me, I can only assume, to shut up. He was then talking on his phone to a man. The journey carried for another 20 minutes until we came to what looked like an industrial estate. No houses and some street lights, but the whole area was just warehouses and factories and fields. The taxi driver was still on his phone, sounding angry, then abruptly turned it off and stopped the car. By this point, I was petrified. I can honestly say I've never been so scared in my life. I was praying and begging that my life wouldn't end here at 34, the mother of 5-year-old twins, and ending up dead in a lockup on an industrial estate as some sort of mutilated rape victim. For about 30 seconds, it was quiet apart from my crying and begging. Then the taxi driver got out, came around to the back car door, grabbed me, and threw me onto the side of the road. He then grabbed my shopping bag and hurled it at me, got in the taxi, and drove off. The relief never came, as I was sure he was going to get other men to harm me. I gathered myself up. It was probably -8, late November, and snowing heavily, and I looked for some kind of doorway hedge, or any kind of shelter, bearing in mind that I was left on the outside of an industrial estate. I walked some meters away and found a gap in a hedge and sat down, pulled my coat and bags around me and cried my heart out. I have no idea how long I was there, maybe an hour, maybe 2, but the sky started to lighten and a few cars and vans came past me. I tried to flag some down, but it was no good. I sat back down. I was frozen. I can honestly say I think I was dying and I had no more energy left. All I know from then to my rescue is thanks to some lovely Polish people. Apparently at around 5 a.m., I was sprawled across the road, hard shouldered, and a brother and sister going to market with their cattle stopped and picked me up, dragged me in their truck, and put a big cow poo stained jacket around me. I couldn't speak apparently. I was just trying to talk to my children, and they found out my hotel location from a napkin in my bag. These wonderful people drove me 20 miles back to Krakow to my hotel, where my ex-husband, police, hotel owner, manager, and Polish equivalent of CID were all there in the process of setting up a command center. They dropped me off, still wearing the poo-stained jacket, were questioned, and went back on their way to the market. I never even got their names. I was swabbed, photographed, fingerprinted, etc., and got a stiff brandy from the bar. The following day we visited Auschwitz, the main reason for the Krakow trip. That evening we were taken by the police to the taxi rank where we got the taxi from to try and identify the driver, but he wasn't there. It was left with the Polish police. But man, I must have had somebody looking after me that night. I'm 25 now. When this happened, I was 14, female, doing online schooling at home. I still had to take certain tests as the high school down the road from me. I lived with my mom and stepdad in the northeastern part of Ohio. This time came when I had to take a state test. In that morning, my mom dropped me off at the high school. The night before this, I had made arrangements with my real dad to pick me up around noon, when the test would be over, but I told him if I was not right outside, then just come to my mom's house because I must have finished early and walked home. I finished early around 11 a.m. and decided I would walk home. At the time, I had a relationship with somebody who lived out of state, and we would each buy phone cards to call long distance. It was my turn to buy one, and there was a dollar store on my way home that had cards for cheap. The store I was going to was in a plaza where it was the last remaining business left. The route to my house was all main roads, no side streets. I reached the plaza and have to walk down a hill and past several stores that have gone out of business. I see a man, tall, thin, and wearing a camouflage jacket and a beanie, fidgeting with the small flag and an old planter in front of one of the empty stores. I thought it was weird but just kept my head down and approached him to pass by. When I went to walk past, he stopped fidgeting with the flag and looked directly at me. The man didn't say a word, so I just went back to looking at the ground, and at this point the dollar store was only a few more doors down, so I kind of started walking faster. I then hear really loud stomping behind me and I turn to look around, and of course he is following. So then I am basically jogging to the store. I was scared, but some part of me said he is not really following me and is probably just going to the only store open in the plaza as well. Once I am in the store, I keep looking for him, while I head to where the long-distance phone cards are. Now I am just standing there pretending to get what I need, yet I am basically scanning my surroundings. I see him now. He is behind a display looking at me. I decide to walk around the store to see if he would follow. He did. I grabbed my phone card and went to the register. He was behind a display still watching me, and I don't know why, but I felt stupid for saying anything to the cashier. I talked myself into saying something once it was my turn in line. I told the cashier that I think the man is following me and I don't know what to do. She looks back to who I'm pointing at. He is now looking at a book and says, "I don't think he is. People wait for the bus here all the time and it is probably your imagination." I felt stupid, paranoid and uneasy. I just stood there with her looking at me. I really didn't want to leave the store. Finally, after 3 minutes of getting looked at like I was insane, I left. Once I am out of the store, I start walking fast through the rest of the plaza. I feel relieved that he was not behind me anymore following. In a couple more steps, I hear the bell on the dollar store's door. I turn around and it's him. I start running. I keep looking back and he is still walking. I finally get to the other end of the plaza and to the road leading to my house. I look back again and he is now running full speed. I have to cross and follow the road to get home, so I run across the street when I see no cars, and I am just running as fast as I can run. It is a busy road. I thought somebody would notice this man chasing me and stop to help. He was on the opposite side, still just a bit behind me. A lot of cars are passing by and no one helps. I am focused on making it home. I did have some luck that day. My house key was never on a keychain, just a single key thrown into a large messenger bag stuffed with junk. I luckily found the key as soon as I stuck my hand into the bag. Normally it would take me some time to locate it. I was running really fast and the bag was bouncing against my side, so the odds of that working out as well as it did were very rare. I now see my house and I'm not looking back. I run up the stairs to the back door, open it with my key, slam it shut and lock the thing. I then went to hide. I thought there was a possibility he didn't see what house I went into. As I am hiding behind the recliner, I hear footsteps coming up the back stairs and then I hear tapping. I am hysterical at this point, not even thinking straight at all. I look around the corner to see him standing at the back door. I see him standing there tapping, and then all of a sudden he starts pounding against the glass pretty hard. I was frozen just looking, and then he presses his face against the glass and starts repeating it in the sweetest voice. "I can see you. I can see you." I was crying and telling him to leave. The only phone we had was one with a cord in the kitchen right beside the door his face was pressed against. I didn't want to move from where I was. I was thinking maybe I should run through the front door and then thought he would catch me before I made it somewhere else. All of a sudden he runs down the steps and I can't see him and I think he's leaving. I was so happy, but as soon as that thought crosses my mind, I hear something coming from the basement. The first few times I heard it, I didn't realize that he was kicking in the basement window. So what happened next was fast. I projectile vomited across the room and lay on the floor. Yeah, not the best reaction. I then lie on the floor and give up. I feel doomed. As I'm lying there screaming, I hear beating on the door again, and I look up to see my dad. It took me a few moments to realize it was him. I ran to the door, still screaming, and opened it to my dad saying, "What the heck is happening right now? I just chased a guy off kicking in the basement window." I just grabbed him and he grabbed me, and I didn't move for a few minutes until my dad made a call to the police and to my mom, who was at work. I filed a report with the cops, who came out and got a description of the man. They did mention that there was someone who fit the description, whom they were already looking for but wouldn't tell us why. Never heard anything back from them anyway. Maybe 6 months later, I fell asleep on the couch downstairs. When I am awake in the same spot, I see through the kitchen to the back door, which has a light on outside on the porch. I wake up every couple of minutes thinking I'm dreaming to something. I don't know what. When I finally open my eyes all the way, I see the guy tapping on my back door. Same eyes looking right at me. I hauled ass up the steps, ran into my mom and stepdad's room, and jumped on top of them both while they were asleep to get him. He was gone by the time I realized what was happening and went down there. After all of this, my sister was visiting and up late on the computer downstairs and saw somebody looking in the window who fit the guy's description. Several times after that, somebody tried to bust open our windows, which my mom eventually screwed permanently closed. After a while, we moved. I've never seen him again, and now I live 500 miles from that place. I have a lot of problems from this still. I won't go anywhere alone, unless it is to work. I know I need to get over it, but it is hard. I thought being 14 I was too old for anyone to kidnap, and it was also during the middle of the day in a busy area. I assumed I was safe. I lie to my family now to make it sound like I could go out here doing exciting things, and the truth is, I don't really leave the house unless I am with my friends or boyfriend.